Cleaner is shocked to see the girl's portrait in the Millionaire's house. The reason shocked everyone. Jennifer Mitchell stopped cleaning the glass of the shelf when her eyes found the golden portrait hanging on the main wall of the luxurious living room. The cleaning cloth slipped from her trembling hands as she stared at the blonde, green-eyed girl looking back at her from the ornate frame. Her heart raced in a way she hadn't felt for 15 years. The girl in the portrait had exactly the same unique green eyes she knew so well, the same curve of the small, delicate nose, and especially that almost imperceptible little scar on the chin that she had kissed 1,000 times when she was just a baby. Her legs began to tremble as the terrible realization took over her mind. "Why did you stop working, Jennifer?" The firm, authoritative voice of Victoria Thornton echoed behind her. Jennifer turned slowly, still in shock, staring at her new boss. Victoria Thornton was an elegant woman in her early 40s, always impeccably dressed in her expensive suits and perfectly styled blonde hair. She had built a business empire in the real estate industry in Los Angeles and was known for her rigidity and coldness. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Victoria, it's just that this girl in the portrait," Jennifer stammered, discreetly pointing to the frame. "What about my daughter, Emma?" Victoria asked with a raised eyebrow, noticing the employee's strange behavior. The name Emma echoed in Jennifer's mind like a punch to the stomach. That was exactly what she had decided to name her daughter when she was still carrying her in her womb, back when she dreamed of a future that never came, a future she herself destroyed with a decision that had haunted her every day for the past 15 years. "Nothing, ma'am. I just thought she was very beautiful," Jennifer murmured, lowering her head and picking up the cloth from the floor with hands that still trembled. "Emma is adopted. She came to our family as a baby," Victoria said casually, but watching the cleaner's reaction closely. "Why are you asking about her?" Jennifer felt the world spin. Adopted. As a baby. 15 years ago. All the pieces fit perfectly into the puzzle she had tried to forget for so long. Her daughter. Her Emma. The baby she had given up for adoption in a moment of total desperation was there, grown up, beautiful, living in the house where she now worked as a cleaner. "I'm not asking anything, Mrs. Victoria. I just commented that she's beautiful. I'll finish cleaning here," Jennifer replied, avoiding her boss's penetrating gaze. "Do you have a problem? You've been acting very strangely since you arrived here 2 weeks ago," Victoria insisted, crossing her arms. "If there's something you want to tell me, you'd better speak now." "No, Ma'am, everything's fine. I'm just a little tired," Jennifer lied, returning to cleaning the shelf with mechanical movements, but unable to take her eyes off the girl's portrait. Victoria watched her for a few more seconds before leaving the room, but her instinct told her something was very wrong. Jennifer had been recommended by the Domestic Employment Agency as an exemplary employee with 15 years of experience and impeccable references. But from the first day, there was something about the way she looked at the family photos that bothered Victoria. When she was finally alone, Jennifer approached the portrait and gently touched the glass, as if she could touch her daughter's face through it. The tears she had held back began to stream silently down her cheeks as she whispered, "My Emma, my little baby, what have I done to you?" The memory of that terrible day 15 years ago came back with full force. Jennifer was only 20 years old, pregnant and completely alone. The child's father had run away when he found out about the pregnancy, and she had no family to help. She worked as a salesperson in a clothing store, earning a pittance that barely covered her own expenses. When Emma was born, Jennifer held her for only 3 days in the hospital. 3 days that were at once the happiest and most agonizing of her life. She knew she wasn't in a position to raise a daughter. She had no money, no home of her own, no one. The social worker had painted a picture of hope about adoption, a wealthy, loving family that would give the baby everything she could never offer. "It will be better for her," Jennifer had repeated like a mantra as she signed the adoption papers, tears blurring her signature. "She'll have a good life, a life I could never give." Now, 15 years later, she was in that wealthy family's home, looking at the portrait of the daughter she had given up. Fate had played a cruel trick on her, putting her face to face with the most difficult decision of her life. "Jennifer," Victoria's voice called her from the kitchen. "Come here, please." Jennifer quickly wiped away her tears and headed to the kitchen, where she found Victoria checking her phone with a worried expression. Emma's school called. She's been suspended for 3 days for fighting with a classmate, Victoria said, putting her phone away. This aggressive behavior is getting worse and worse. She's coming home tomorrow. Jennifer's heart leaped. She was going to meet her daughter. After 15 years, she would see Emma in person, talk to her, hear her speak. But she also felt a pang of pain knowing the girl was having trouble. "I'm sorry to hear that, Mrs. Victoria," Jennifer said sincerely. "Teenagers can be difficult indeed." "Do you have children?" Victoria asked suddenly, studying the cleaner's face. The question caught Jennifer by surprise. She hesitated for a moment, feeling a lump in her throat. "I had a daughter, but she's not with me anymore," Jennifer replied, technically telling the truth. "I'm sorry. That must be very hard for you," Victoria said, her voice softening slightly. "Well, with Emma coming back, I'll need you to work some extra hours in the next few days. Can I count on you?" "Of course, Mrs. Victoria. Whatever it takes," Jennifer replied quickly, hardly believing the opportunity that was presenting itself. That night, Jennifer could barely sleep in her small apartment on the outskirts of Los Angeles. She kept wondering how Emma was, if she was happy, if she missed something only a biological mother could give. The guilt she had carried for 15 years seemed even heavier now that she knew where her daughter was. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. The next day, Jennifer arrived earlier than usual at the Thornton mansion. The house was truly impressive. 3 stories, impeccable garden, swimming pool, garage for 4 cars. Everything she had dreamed of giving her daughter, and never could. Around 2 in the afternoon, Jennifer heard the sound of a car in the driveway. Her heart started beating erratically when she realized Emma was arriving. She positioned herself strategically in the living room, pretending to arrange the furniture, but actually waiting for the first meeting with her daughter in 15 years. The front door opened and Victoria entered first, followed by a tall, elegant teenager. Emma Thornton was 15 years old and looked exactly as Jennifer had imagined she would be. Long, silky blonde hair, bright green eyes, fair skin, and a confident posture that came from a life of privilege. "Emma, this is Jennifer, our new employee," Victoria said, pointing to the cleaning lady. When Emma's green eyes met Jennifer's, time seemed to stand still. For a brief moment, Jennifer thought she saw a flash of recognition in the girl's gaze, but soon Emma looked away with the typical indifference of privileged teenagers. "Hi," Emma said dryly, showing no interest. "Hello, Emma. Nice to meet you," Jennifer replied, struggling to keep her voice steady. Emma was carrying a heavy suitcase, and Jennifer noticed she was having trouble. "Can I help you with that suitcase?" Jennifer offered, stepping forward. "No need," Emma answered quickly, but then seemed to reconsider. "Actually, you can take it up to my room. It's on the 2nd floor, 3rd door on the right." Jennifer picked up the suitcase, feeling a strange emotion as she touched something that belonged to her daughter. She climbed the elegant stairs of the mansion, observing every detail of the environment where Emma had grown up. The walls were decorated with expensive paintings and family photos from trips around the world. Emma's room was the size of Jennifer's entire apartment. It had a king-size bed, a huge closet, a flat-screen TV, and even a small balcony overlooking the garden. Jennifer left the suitcase near the bed and stood there for a few seconds, absorbing the fact that this was her daughter's room. "Thanks," Emma said when Jennifer came back down. She had changed clothes and now wore a casual top that probably cost more than Jennifer earned in a month. "You're welcome. If you need anything else, just call," Jennifer said, trying to prolong the contact. Emma watched her for a moment, as if about to say something, but Victoria appeared in the living room at that moment. "Emma, let's talk about what happened at school," Victoria said firmly. "Oh, Mom, can it be later? I'm tired from the trip," Emma complained. "No, it's going to be now, in my office," Victoria insisted. Jennifer pretended to be busy cleaning a nearby vase, but managed to hear part of the conversation happening in the office with the door ajar. "This can't go on, Emma. Fighting with classmates, disrespecting teachers. What's your problem?" Victoria's voice echoed angrily. "I don't have a problem. Madison was being an idiot, talking badly about the school staff in front of me. I just stood up for them," Emma replied with an agitated voice. "And you think violence solves anything? You pushed the girl?" Victoria retorted. "She deserved it. She keeps saying poor people shouldn't be in school, that her parents pay too much to have to deal with scholarship students," Emma shouted. Jennifer felt a pang of pride in her chest. Her daughter had defended underprivileged people. There was something good and fair in Emma's heart, despite all the wealth around her. "That doesn't justify violence, Emma. You need to learn to control yourself," Victoria said in a calmer voice. "Control what, Mum? My outrage. You want me to be like you, who turns a blind eye to everything that doesn't suit you?" Emma replied bitterly. "What do you mean? Like me?" Victoria asked, obviously offended. "Oh, Mom, please. You live in this bubble of privilege and pretend the outside world doesn't exist. When was the last time you actually talked to someone who doesn't have money? When was the last time you cared about anything besides your business?" Emma questioned. Jennifer realized there was something deeper going on there. Emma wasn't just being rebellious because she was a teenager. She was questioning values, searching for something she apparently wasn't finding at home. "I work hard to give you a good life, Emma. Everything I do is with your future in mind," Victoria replied, but her voice sounded defensive. "A good life? Mom, I have everything money can buy, but—" Emma stopped mid-sentence, as if about to say something she shouldn't. "But what?" Victoria insisted. "Nothing, Mom, forget it. Can I go to my room now?" Emma asked, clearly ending the conversation. Jennifer quickly stepped away when she heard footsteps approaching. Emma left the office visibly upset and went up the stairs without looking at anyone. Victoria appeared a few minutes later, also clearly disturbed. "Jennifer, when you finish cleaning the living room, could you prepare a snack for Emma and take it to her room?" "She didn't eat much for lunch," Victoria requested, massaging her temples as if she had a headache. "Of course, Mrs. Victoria." "What does she like to eat?" Jennifer asked, eager to learn more about the daughter's preferences. "She's always been a bit picky with food. She likes turkey sandwiches, orange juice, fruit. Simple things, really," Victoria answered. "Avoid anything too elaborate. She rejects it when it's too seasoned or fancy." Jennifer nodded and headed to the kitchen with a strange feeling. Emma preferred simple foods, even growing up in a home where she probably had access to the best ingredients and refined dishes. There was something about it that reminded her of herself as a child, growing up with few resources, but with food made with care. She prepared a careful sandwich with whole wheat bread, turkey breast, white cheese, lettuce and tomato. She cut some fresh fruit and made fresh orange juice. She placed everything on a nice tray and went up to Emma's room. "Emma, may I come in? I brought you a snack," Jennifer said, knocking gently on the door. "Come in." The girl's voice came from inside the room. Jennifer opened the door and found Emma sitting on the balcony, looking out at the garden with a melancholy expression. She turned when Jennifer entered and smiled slightly. "Thank you. You can just leave it there on the table," Emma said, pointing to a small table near the bed. "Is everything okay?" "You seem a bit sad," Jennifer ventured to ask, placing the tray on the table. Emma looked at her in surprise, as if she didn't expect an employee to care about her feelings. "It's just teenage stuff, you know," Emma replied. But there was something in her voice that suggested it was more than that. "Sometimes talking helps," Jennifer said softly. "My mother always said that a problem kept inside only grows. Your mother, is she still alive?" Emma asked with genuine curiosity. "Yes, she is. She lives here in Los Angeles, too. She's a very wise woman, even though she didn't study much," Jennifer answered, feeling a tightness in her chest as she noticed Emma was interested in her life. "It must be nice to have a mother like that," Emma murmured, turning her gaze back to the garden. "Don't you get along with your mother?" Jennifer asked carefully. Emma hesitated for a moment, as if deciding whether to trust this employee she barely knew. "It's complicated, my mother. She's a good person, I know she is. But sometimes I feel like she treats me more like a project than a daughter, you know," Emma said, her voice filled with sadness. Jennifer felt her heart tighten. She had given Emma up for adoption, believing that a wealthy family would give the girl not only material comfort, but also love and emotional attention. The discovery that perhaps this hadn't fully happened left her devastated. "I'm sure your mother loves you very much," Jennifer said, trying not to let emotion leak into her voice. "I know she loves me in her own way, but it's hard to explain. Sometimes I feel like something's missing, you know, like there's a piece of me that doesn't quite fit," Emma confessed. The girl's words hit Jennifer like a stab. The missing piece was exactly what she had taken away 15 years ago. The connection with her biological mother, the roots, the sense of belonging that comes from truly knowing your origins. "You're adopted, right?" "Your mother told me," Jennifer said, testing the waters. "I am, since I was a baby," Emma confirmed. "Sometimes I wonder what my life would be like if things were different." "Have you ever wanted to meet your biological family?" Jennifer asked, barely able to breathe as she waited for the answer. Emma looked at her intensely, as if she were the first person to ask that question genuinely. "I've always wanted to. My adoptive mom, she doesn't like it when I bring it up. Says I don't need to worry about that they abandoned me and she saved me," Emma said bitterly. "But I don't feel like I was abandoned, you know. I feel more like I was given up. With love." Tears began to form in Jennifer's eyes, but she fought to hold them back. "Why do you think that?" Jennifer asked in a hoarse voice. "I can't really explain it. Sometimes I have strange dreams. I dream of a woman with dark hair who hugs me and sings a song about little birds. It's kind of silly, but it feels too real to be just a dream," Emma confessed, looking embarrassed. Jennifer's world came to a complete stop. The song about little birds. She had sung that song to Emma during the 3 days they spent together in the hospital. It was a song her own mother had sung to her when she was a child, about little birds that fly far away but never forget their nest. "What's that song like?" Jennifer asked in a barely audible voice. Emma looked at her in surprise, but then began to sing softly. "Little bird flew, 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 went far away but didn't forget the nest where it was born." Jennifer had to hold onto the table to keep from falling. It was exactly the same song, with the same sweet melody she had sung to her baby 15 years ago. How was it possible that Emma remembered? You know this song?" Emma asked, noticing Jennifer's intense reaction. It's a very old song. My mother used to sing it to me when I was a child," Jennifer replied, struggling to maintain her composure. "What a strange coincidence," Emma murmured, watching Jennifer with growing curiosity. "Emma!" Victoria's voice called from downstairs. "Come here, please." Emma sighed and stood up. "I have to go. Thanks for the talk." "And for the snack," Emma said, smiling for the first time since she had arrived. "You're welcome. Whenever you want to talk, I'll be here," Jennifer replied, watching her daughter leave the room. When she was alone, Jennifer sat on the balcony, where Emma had been just moments before, and let the tears flow freely. Her daughter was physically well, had an education, comfort, opportunities. But there was an emotional void that Jennifer recognized deeply. It was the same emptiness she herself had felt since the day she gave Emma up for adoption. The conversation had revealed something she had never considered. Emma didn't feel abandoned but given up with love. Somehow, even though she was just a baby, she had sensed that the decision had been made with her well-being in mind, not out of rejection or lack of love. But that also meant that Emma missed something only her biological mother could give. The connection, the history, the song about little birds that had been etched in her unconscious memory. Jennifer went back downstairs to finish her chores, but her mind was racing. She needed to find a way to get closer to Emma, to learn more about her life and maybe, just maybe, find a way to reveal the truth. But she knew she had to be very careful. Victoria was already suspicious of her behavior, and any misstep could result in losing her job and the only chance to be near her daughter. In the following days, Jennifer discreetly observed the dynamic between Emma and Victoria. It was a complex relationship, full of genuine love, but also misunderstandings and unmet expectations. Victoria clearly loved Emma and wanted the best for her, but there was a rigidity in how she expressed that love. She seemed more comfortable showing affection through expensive gifts and opportunities than through intimate conversations and emotional connection. Emma, in turn, yearned for that deeper connection. Jennifer watched her several times trying to start more personal conversations with Victoria, only to be redirected to practical topics like school, future career, or extracurricular activities. On Thursday, Jennifer was cleaning Victoria's office when she overheard a phone conversation that alarmed her. "Yes, Dr. Harrison, Emma's aggressive behavior is getting worse. No, she doesn't want to go to therapy. I know it's normal for teenagers to question everything, but she's taking it too far." Victoria spoke on the phone, clearly worried. Jennifer hid behind the bookshelf, listening to every word. "Do you think it could be related to her being adopted?" "I see. Yes, she's been asking about her biological parents lately. No, I never told her much about them. I thought it would be better for her not to know," Victoria continued. "What do you mean it could be harming her emotional development?" "Doctor, I did what I thought was best." "Yes, I understand. Maybe it's time to be more honest with her about her origins." "Okay, let's schedule an appointment for next week." Victoria ended the call with a heavy sigh. Jennifer quickly moved away, processing what she had heard. A psychologist was advising Victoria to be more open about Emma's origins. This could be an opportunity, but also a huge risk. If Victoria decided to investigate the adoption further, she might discover who Jennifer really was. That afternoon, Emma came down to the kitchen where Jennifer was preparing dinner. "Jennifer, can I ask you something?" Emma said, sitting at the kitchen counter. "Of course, dear. What do you want to know?" Jennifer replied, happy for any opportunity to talk with her daughter. "You said you had a daughter who's no longer with you. What happened, if it's not too personal?" Emma asked gently. Jennifer stopped chopping vegetables and turned to face Emma. It was the perfect opportunity to tell the truth, but it was also too risky. "I was very young when I got pregnant. I wasn't in a position to raise a child, so I decided to put her up for adoption," Jennifer answered, staying as close to the truth as possible. Emma looked at her intently, as if processing every word. "Was it hard? The decision, I mean," Emma asked. "It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, but I did it thinking of her well-being. I wanted her to have opportunities I could never give her," Jennifer replied, her voice filled with genuine emotion. "Do you regret it?" Emma asked softly. Jennifer completely stopped what she was doing and looked directly into her daughter's green eyes. "Every day. But I don't regret making the decision with her best interests in mind. I regret not fighting harder to find a way for us to stay together," Jennifer admitted. "You never tried to get in touch afterward?" Emma asked. "The adoption was closed." "I had no way of knowing where she was or how she was growing up. I could only hope she was happy, and that one day, maybe one day, she'd want to meet me," Jennifer replied. Emma remained silent for a long moment, clearly reflecting on Jennifer's words. "I think every adopted child would want to hear that from their birth mother, to know they were given up out of love, not abandonment," Emma finally said. "Would you want to meet your birth mother?" Jennifer asked, barely able to breathe. "Very much, especially now after talking with you. You've made me realize she probably suffered from the separation too," Emma confessed. "My mother, Victoria, she doesn't like when I bring this up. I think she's afraid I'll leave or love her less if I meet my biological family." "That wouldn't make you love Victoria any less, would it?" Jennifer asked. "Not at all. She's my mother. She raised me, gave me love and opportunities. Nothing will change that. But meeting my birth mother would be like completing a piece of me that always felt missing," Emma explained. Emma's words deeply touched Jennifer's heart. Her daughter was wise and mature for her age, capable of understanding that love isn't a limited resource, that it's possible to love more than one mother without diminishing love for either. "Your daughter, what was her name?" Emma asked curiously. Jennifer hesitated. It was a simple question, but the answer would reveal so much. "Emma," Jennifer replied softly. The following silence was deafening. Emma stared at her with wide eyes, processing the coincidence. "The same as mine?" Emma asked with a hoarse voice. "Yes, it was the name I'd chosen when I was still pregnant," Jennifer confirmed. Emma climbed down from the counter and approached Jennifer, studying her face intently. "Jennifer, how old would your daughter be today?" Emma asked, her voice almost a whisper. 15, Jennifer replied, knowing there was no turning back now. Recognition slowly dawned in Emma's eyes. All the pieces began falling into place. Jennifer's reaction upon seeing the portrait, her interest in her life, her knowledge about the bird song, the name coincidence. You're... Emma began, but couldn't finish the sentence. "I'm your mother," Jennifer finally said, tears streaming freely down her face. "I'm your birth mother, Emma." Emma stepped back a few paces, her expression shifting between shock, confusion, and what might have been recognition. "This can't be. It's too much of a coincidence," Emma said, shaking her head. "It's not coincidence. When I saw your portrait in the living room on my first day of work, I nearly fainted. It's your eyes, Emma. They're the same unique green eyes I kissed when you were a baby, and the scar on your chin. You fell when you were 8 months old and I was desperate at the hospital," Jennifer explained. Emma unconsciously touched the small scar on her chin. But how did you know I was here?" Emma asked, still resisting reality. "I didn't know. It was fate or chance or whatever it was. The employment agency sent me to work here. When I arrived and saw your portrait, I thought I'd go crazy," Jennifer explained. "That's why you were acting strange. My mother..." "Victoria," she noticed, Emma murmured. "I tried to hide it, but it's impossible. You're my daughter, Emma. The love I feel for you never died, never diminished, not for one day in these 15 years, Jennifer said, taking a step toward her daughter. Emma began pacing back and forth, clearly trying to process the situation. This is too surreal. How can I be sure you're not making this up?" Emma asked, but her tone suggested she already knew the answer. "The Little Bird song, Emma. I sang that song to you in the hospital during the 3 days we spent together. It was the song my mother, your grandmother, used to sing to me. Somehow it stayed stored in your memory," Jennifer explained. Emma stopped walking and stared intently at her. "Prove it," Emma said challengingly. Jennifer approached her and began to sing softly, with the same sweet melody from 15 years ago. "Little bird flew, 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 went far away but didn't forget. The nest where it was born, the nest where it was born. One day it returns home, missing your gaze." Emma's eyes widened as Jennifer sang the verses she didn't know, verses that completed the song that had haunted her dreams for years. "How do you know the rest of the song?" Emma whispered. "Because I'm your mother, my love. Because I sang the full song to you when you were my little baby," Jennifer replied, trying to touch her daughter's face. Emma didn't pull away this time. She let Jennifer touch her face, and in that moment, something deep and primal awakened in her memory. It was as if her body recognized the touch, the scent, the presence of her biological mother. "Mother," Emma whispered, the word coming out like a sigh. "Yes, my daughter. It's me," Jennifer replied, pulling Emma into a hug. The embrace that followed was 15 years of longing condensed into one moment. Emma cried as she hadn't cried in years, releasing a pain she didn't even know she carried. Jennifer held her, as she had dreamed of doing every day since the adoption, whispering words of love and asking for forgiveness. "Why? Why did you give me up?" Emma asked between sobs. "Because I loved you too much to condemn you to a life of poverty. I was young, had no money, no family, nothing to offer you. The social worker told me that a wealthy family would give you everything I never could," Jennifer explained, also crying. "But you were my mother. I needed you," Emma shouted, all the pain of 15 years exploding. "I know, my love, I know. If I could turn back time, I would try to find another way. But at the time, I was desperate and thought I was doing what was best for you," Jennifer replied, holding her daughter's hands. All these years, feeling incomplete, feeling like something was missing," Emma sobbed. "I felt incomplete too. Every day for these 15 years, I wondered if you were okay, if you were happy, if you would ever forgive me," Jennifer confessed. They stayed embraced for several minutes, crying together, beginning to heal wounds they had carried for so long. It was then that they heard footsteps approaching the kitchen. "Emma? Who are you talking to?" Victoria's voice echoed from the hallway. The two quickly separated, Emma wiping tears from her face while Jennifer tried to return to a normal position in the kitchen. "I'm here in the kitchen, Mother," Emma replied, her voice still choked. Victoria entered the kitchen and immediately sensed something was wrong. Emma was visibly shaken and Jennifer seemed nervous. "What's going on here?" Victoria asked suspiciously. "Nothing, Mother. Jennifer was telling me about her daughter," Emma replied, trying to sound casual. "What daughter?" Victoria asked, looking directly at Jennifer. "I mentioned to Emma that I had a daughter who was adopted," Jennifer explained, sensing danger approaching. Victoria studied her with penetrating eyes. Her protective mother instinct and business experience had developed in her a sharp ability to detect when something wasn't right. "Emma, can you go to your room?" "I need to speak with Jennifer privately," Victoria said firmly. "Mom, you don't need to—" Emma began to protest. "Now, Emma," Victoria insisted with authority. Emma looked at Jennifer with worry before leaving the kitchen. When they were alone, Victoria crossed her arms and stared directly at Jennifer. "I don't know what's happening here, but there's something very wrong. From the first day you've been acting strangely, looking at my family photos with an intensity that bothers me, and now I find you and Emma clearly shaken after a conversation," Victoria said. "Mrs. Victoria, I can explain," Jennifer began. "Then explain." "And I want the complete truth," Victoria demanded. Jennifer took a deep breath, knowing she had reached the point of no return. She could try to make up an excuse, but Emma already knew the truth and would probably tell Victoria anyway. "Emma is my biological daughter," Jennifer said simply. The silence that followed was tense and heavy. Victoria stared at her as if she had said something completely absurd. "What did you just say?" Victoria asked in a low, dangerous voice. "I gave my daughter up for adoption 15 years ago. When I started working here and saw Emma's portrait, I recognized her immediately. She's my daughter," Jennifer repeated, more firmly this time. Victoria stepped back a few steps, her expression shifting from confusion to anger. "This is ridiculous. Why are you making up this crazy story? Money? Blackmail?" Victoria accused. "I'm not making anything up. Emma has the same unique green eyes, the same chin scar, and she even remembers the song I used to sing to her when she was a baby," Jennifer explained. "Song? What song?" Victoria asked, her voice betraying a hint of nervousness. "The song about the little birds that she sings when she's sad. You've noticed it, haven't you?" Jennifer asked, seeing recognition in Victoria's eyes. Victoria turned pale. She had indeed noticed that Emma sometimes hummed a specific melody when emotionally upset, a melody Emma claimed not to know where it came from. That doesn't prove anything," Victoria stammered, but her conviction was wavering. "Victoria, I didn't come here with ulterior motives. It was a terrible and wonderful coincidence at the same time. When I saw that my daughter was okay, growing up in a good family, I should have left. But I couldn't. I couldn't walk away from her again," Jennifer explained. "You have no right to her. Emma is my daughter. I raised her. I love her. I'm her mother," Victoria shouted, all her elegant composure disappearing. "I'm not trying to take her away from you." "Victoria, look at Emma. Don't you see she has questions? That something is missing in her life?" Jennifer asked. "Nothing is missing. I give her everything," Victoria retorted. "You give her everything material, yes. But she needs to know her origins. She needs to understand where she came from. She needs to know she was given up out of love, not abandonment," Jennifer explained. Victoria began pacing back and forth, clearly in panic. "This can't be happening. Emma is finally settling down, getting into a routine." "And now you show up to mess everything up," Victoria said. "She wasn't settling down, Victoria. She was fighting at school, questioning values, searching for something she couldn't name. Now she knows what it was," Jennifer replied. "Get out of my house," Victoria said suddenly, her voice icy. "Get out of my house right now and never come back." "Victoria, please, think about Emma," Jennifer tried to argue. "Get out!" Victoria screamed. "And if you come near my daughter again, I'll call the police." At that moment, Emma came running into the kitchen, clearly having heard the shouting. "What's going on?" Emma asked, looking between the two women. "Jennifer is leaving and won't be coming back," Victoria said firmly. What do you mean, why? Emma asked, beginning to understand the situation. Because she's causing trouble in our family with crazy stories, Victoria replied. Mom, they're not crazy stories. She really is my biological mother, Emma said, surprising Victoria. Emma, don't be fooled by this, Victoria began. I'm not being fooled. I felt it, Mom. When she hugged me, I felt something I've never felt before. Like a part of me that was always missing had finally come home, Emma explained, tears returning to her eyes. Victoria looked at her daughter with a mixture of pain and betrayal in her eyes. Emma, you can't be serious, Victoria whispered. Mom, this doesn't change anything between us. You're my mother. You raised me. You gave me love. But she's also my mother. It's possible to love both of you, Emma tried to explain. No, it's not possible. Family isn't something you share, Emma. Either you're my daughter or hers, Victoria shouted, completely losing control. Victoria, please, Jennifer tried to intervene. You be quiet. You destroyed my family. 15 years I raised this girl, 15 years of love, care, investment, and you show up and destroy everything in 1 week, Victoria accused. Mom, stop, you're being irrational, Emma shouted back. Irrational? Irrational? A stranger shows up at our house claiming to be your mother, and I'm the one being irrational? Victoria retorted. She's not a stranger, she's my biological mother, and for God's sake, Mom, look at both of us. Don't you see the resemblance? Emma asked, positioning herself beside Jennifer. Victoria stopped shouting and really looked at the two women side by side for the first time. The resemblance was undeniable. The same green eyes, the same curve of the lips, the same nose shape. How had she spent 15 years without noticing? This can't be happening, Victoria murmured, leaning against the kitchen counter. Victoria, I understand your fear, but please think about Emma. She needs to know her origins. This will help her understand herself better, to feel complete, Jennifer said softly. Complete. She wasn't complete with me, Victoria asked with a broken voice. She was loved and well cared for, but there was a part of her story that was missing, and you know that. That's why she's been having emotional problems, Jennifer explained. Emma approached Victoria and took her hands. Mom, please. You're my mother, and you always will be. But I need to know my full story. I need to understand where I come from. This doesn't diminish the love I feel for you, Emma said tenderly. Victoria looked at the daughter she had raised, seeing for the first time the maturity and wisdom in her eyes. You really want to get to know this woman? Victoria asked, the word woman coming out with difficulty as she referred to Jennifer. I do, Mom, I need to, Emma replied honestly. Victoria closed her eyes and took a deep breath, fighting against all her possessive instincts. Then let's do this the right way. Let's do a DNA test first. If she really is your biological mother, then we'll talk about how to proceed, Victoria said finally. Jennifer felt enormous relief. She wasn't being thrown out immediately, and there would be a chance to scientifically prove what they all already knew in their hearts. I completely agree with the test, Jennifer said. I understand your need for certainty. And while we wait for the results, you no longer work here. I can't have you in my house in such a complicated situation, Victoria added. I understand, Jennifer agreed, though her heart tightened at the thought of being away from Emma again. But Mom, how will we stay in touch? How will I talk to her? Emma asked, clearly worried about the separation. Victoria hesitated. Her first reaction was to say there would be no contact until the results, but she could see the desperation in her daughter's eyes. You can talk on the phone. Only by phone, Victoria conceded reluctantly. Emma quickly grabbed her cell phone and wrote down Jennifer's number. The two exchanged looks filled with emotion, knowing that this first meeting was coming to an end. Jennifer, you can go now. Tomorrow we'll arrange the DNA test, Victoria said, her voice returning to a formal and distant tone. Jennifer nodded and headed for the exit, but Emma followed her. Mom, can I hug you one more time? Emma asked when they reached the door. Jennifer wrapped her in a tight hug, inhaling her daughter's scent and engraving the moment in her memory. Everything will be all right, my daughter. I promise, Jennifer whispered in Emma's ear. I love you, Emma whispered back. the words coming out naturally as if she had been waiting 15 years to say them. "I love you too. I've always loved you," Jennifer replied, kissing her daughter's forehead. When Jennifer left the mansion and caught the bus back home, she could hardly believe what had happened. In 1 week, her life had been completely turned upside down. She had found the daughter she thought she had lost forever, but now she faced the challenge of winning the adoptive mother's trust and finding a way for them all to live together. The journey was just beginning, but for the first time in 15 years, Jennifer felt hope. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. That night, Emma couldn't sleep. She kept fiddling with her phone, looking at the number of her biological mother that she had saved as Jennifer Mom. The word Mom next to the name seemed strange, but at the same time natural. She wanted to call, but didn't know what to say. How do you talk to a mother you've just met after 15 years? Across town, Jennifer was also awake, staring at her phone and hoping it would ring. She had told the whole story to her mother, Mrs. Dorothy, who cried with emotion upon learning she would finally meet her granddaughter. "My daughter, after so many years of suffering, God has given you this chance. Don't let it slip away," Mrs. Dorothy had said, holding her daughter's hands. Finally, around midnight, Jennifer's phone rang. "Hello," Jennifer answered quickly. "Hi." "It's Emma," came the soft voice from the other end of the line. "Hi, my love. How are you?" Jennifer asked, her heart racing. "Confused, emotional, scared, happy, all at the same time," Emma confessed. "Are you okay?" "I'm the same as you. It's a lot of emotion to process all at once," Jennifer admitted. "Can I ask you something?" Emma requested. "You can ask me anything, always," Jennifer replied. "What was it like for you to give me up? How did you manage?" Emma asked, her voice filled with curiosity and pain. Jennifer took a deep breath, knowing this was one of the hardest questions she would have to answer. "It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, Emma. I held you for 3 days in the hospital, and every minute that passed made it harder to think about letting you go. On the last day, I almost changed my mind. I almost picked you up and ran away," Jennifer confessed. "Why didn't you do it?" Emma asked. "Because when I looked at you, I saw all the difficult life I would have to offer you. I lived in a rented room that barely fit a bed, earned minimum wage, had no family to help me. The social worker showed me pictures of the family that wanted to adopt you. A beautiful house, successful parents, opportunities I could never provide," Jennifer explained. "But wasn't that more important than having you with me?" Emma asked, and Jennifer could hear the tears in her daughter's voice. "At the time, I thought so. I was convinced that love wasn't enough, that you needed financial stability, education, a guaranteed future. Now I know none of that replaces a biological mother's love," Jennifer admitted. "Did you think about me all these years?" Emma asked. "Every day, Emma. Every day I wondered if you were okay, if you were happy, how you were growing up. I always imagined what your first day of school would be like, your first birthday party, your first friends," Jennifer said, starting to cry. "I thought about you too. I always wanted to know what you were like, if I took after you in any way, if you thought about me. Sometimes I made up stories about what it would be like if you had raised me," Emma confessed. The two talked for over 2 hours, sharing memories, feelings, and 15 years of longing. Emma talked about her privileged but emotionally empty childhood in some ways, while Jennifer shared her struggles and achievements over the years. "Emma, your mother. Victoria, is she a good mother?" Jennifer asked carefully. "She is, yes, in her own way. She gave me everything money can buy and always cared about me. But she has trouble with emotions, you know. She shows love by buying things, paying for expensive schools, trips, but intimate conversations like this one we're having now, that never happened between us," Emma explained. "She must be very scared right now," Jennifer observed. "She is. I tried to explain that you're not going to steal me from her, that I can love both of you, but I don't think she understands. To her it's like it's a competition," Emma said sadly. "It's not a competition, my daughter. She raised you, loved you, gave you a life I never could. I just want to be part of your life too if you want," Jennifer assured. "I do, Mom. Very much, Emma said, and this time the word Mom came out naturally. In the following days, while waiting for the DNA test results, Emma and Jennifer talked daily on the phone. Victoria watched these conversations with a mix of jealousy and curiosity, noticing how Emma seemed lighter and happier after each call. A week later, the results came. 99.98% probability of maternity. Scientifically, there was no more doubt. Jennifer was indeed Emma's biological mother. When Victoria received the results, she locked herself in the office for hours. All the reality she had built over the past 15 years was being questioned. Emma wasn't just her daughter. She also belonged to someone else. Emma found Victoria crying in the office that night. "Mom, what's wrong?" Emma asked, approaching carefully. The results came. "It's true. She really is your biological mother," Victoria said between sobs. Emma sat beside Victoria and hugged her. "Mom, this doesn't change anything between us. You're still my mother," Emma said softly. "But now you have two mothers. How can I compete with that?" Victoria asked, her vulnerability showing for the first time. "You don't need to compete. It's not a competition, Mom. I can love both of you in different ways," Emma explained. "What do you mean different?" Victoria asked, lifting her face to look at her daughter. "You're the mother who raised me, who gave me security, education, opportunities. You're the mom who took me to school on the first day, who took care of me when I was sick, who taught me how to ride a bike. Nothing will change that," Emma said. "And her?" Victoria asked with difficulty. "She's the mom who gave me life, who carries half of my genetics, who has the answers to questions I've always had about myself. She's the missing piece in the puzzle of my identity," Emma explained. Victoria processed these words in silence. She was beginning to understand that Emma wasn't choosing between them, but rather completing her family. "What do you want to happen now?" Victoria asked. "I want to get to know Jennifer better. I want to learn about her family, about her life, about what I was like as a baby. And I want both of you to understand each other, because you're both important to me," Emma answered honestly. "This is going to be very hard for me, Emma. I've always been your only mum. Sharing this," Victoria admitted. "Mum, you're not losing anything. You're gaining someone who loves me as much as you do. And maybe you two could even become friends," Emma suggested with a hopeful smile. Victoria couldn't help but smile a little at her daughter's optimism. "Do you really think that's possible?" Victoria asked. "I think it's worth trying. For me," Emma said. The next day, Victoria called Jennifer for the first time. "Hello?" Jennifer answered, surprised to see Victoria's number. "Jennifer, it's Victoria. Can we talk?" Victoria asked, her voice formal but not hostile. "Of course. What would you like to talk about?" Jennifer replied carefully. "The results confirmed it. You really are Emma's biological mother," Victoria said. "Yes, I received the results too," Jennifer confirmed. I need to understand one thing. What exactly are your intentions regarding Emma?" Victoria asked directly. "My intention is to get to know my daughter, if she wants to get to know me too. I don't want to take her away from you, Victoria. You're her mum. You raised her with love. I just want to be part of her life in some way," Jennifer answered sincerely. "And what if I say I don't allow it?" Victoria asked. "Emma is already 15. She's practically an adult. The decision is hers, not ours," Jennifer pointed out. "But I hope you don't put her in the position of having to choose between us, because that will only hurt her." Victoria stayed silent for a moment, processing the response. "You're right. Emma has made it clear she wants to get to know you better, and I don't want to hurt my daughter because of my selfishness," Victoria admitted. "It's not selfishness, Victoria. It's love. You're afraid of losing Emma, and that's understandable. But she's not going away. She's just gaining more family," Jennifer assured. "How can we make this work?" Victoria asked, her voice showing she was genuinely considering the situation. "How about we start slow? I could come to your house to talk with both of you. We can set boundaries and expectations. The important thing is that Emma feels comfortable with everything," Jennifer suggested. "All right, you can come tomorrow afternoon. But I want to make it clear this is a test. If I think you're harming Emma in any way, you're out of her life," Victoria said firmly. I completely agree. Emma's well-being is all of our priority, Jennifer replied. When Emma learned about the conversation between the two mothers, she was emotional. It was the first step toward the possibility of having both her families coexisting in harmony. The following afternoon, Jennifer arrived at the Thornton mansion with a mix of nervousness and hope. This time, she wasn't there as an employee, but as Emma's biological mother, trying to find her place in this complex family. Emma greeted her at the door with a tight hug, and Jennifer noticed how the girl seemed more relaxed and happy. "How are you, my daughter?" Jennifer asked, touching Emma's face affectionately. "Better, much better. I feel like I finally know who I am," Emma replied with a smile. Victoria watched them from the living room, noticing the naturalness of the interaction between mother and biological daughter. It was painful, but also beautiful to see. "Victoria, thank you for having me in your home," Jennifer said formally as they approached. "Have a seat," Victoria replied, pointing to the sofa. "Emma, could you get us something to drink?" When Emma left, Victoria turned to Jennifer. "Before anything else, I want you to understand one thing. Emma is the most important thing in my life. Everything I've done for the past 15 years has been with her in mind," Victoria said. "I understand perfectly. And I'm grateful you gave her a life I never could," Jennifer replied sincerely. "Then why do you want to complicate things now?" Victoria asked. "Because Emma isn't complete, Victoria. You must have noticed the emotional issues she's been having. The questions, the rebelliousness, the feeling that something is missing," Jennifer explained. Victoria sighed, recognizing the truth in Jennifer's words. Her psychologist said the same thing. "That she needs to know her origins to understand herself better," Victoria admitted. "I'm not here to cause trouble. I'm here because my daughter needs answers, and I can give her those answers," Jennifer said. Emma returned with a tray of juices and sat between the two mothers, symbolically uniting them. "So how are we going to make this work?" Emma asked, getting straight to the point. Victoria and Jennifer exchanged glances, both recognizing that the decision was now being made by Emma herself. "How about you spend some weekends with Jennifer and her family?" Victoria suggested, though the idea clearly bothered her. "That would be wonderful," Emma said, her eyes shining. "I want to meet my grandmother. I want to see how you live. I want to understand where I come from." "My mother is dying to meet you," Jennifer said, smiling. "She still keeps some baby clothes that were yours." "Really? She kept my clothes?" Emma asked, moved. "She kept everything. She never lost hope that one day you'd come back into our lives," Jennifer explained. Victoria watched the conversation with mixed feelings. It was painful to see Emma so excited to meet another family, but she could also see that the girl was genuinely happy for the first time in a long while. "There's one condition," Victoria said suddenly. "If Emma is going to spend time with your family, I want to meet them too. I want to know who my daughter is spending time with." Jennifer was surprised by the request but quickly agreed. "Of course. You can meet my mother, see where we live, understand what our life is like," Jennifer agreed. "And one more thing. Emma continues studying at the same school, keeps the same activities, the same routine. I don't want anything to change drastically in her life," Victoria added. "That's fair," Jennifer agreed. "Emma, do you agree with these conditions?" "I completely agree. In fact, I think it's great that you two will get to know each other better. Maybe you'll even become friends," Emma said hopefully. Victoria and Jennifer exchanged skeptical glances, but both smiled at Emma's incorrigible optimism. The following Saturday, Emma went to Jennifer's house for the first time. The difference between the humble residence on the outskirts and the mansion where she grew up was striking, but Emma quickly adapted to the simpler, more welcoming environment. Mrs. Dorothy cried when she met her granddaughter for the first time. At 70 years old, she had lost hope of ever meeting Emma, but she always kept the memory of the baby who had been given up for adoption alive. "My granddaughter, how you've grown. How beautiful you are," Mrs. Dorothy said, hugging Emma tightly. "Grandma Dorothy," Emma said, testing the word. "Can I call you Grandma?" "Yes, my dear. You can and you should," Mrs. Dorothy replied, beaming with happiness. Jennifer's house was small but impeccably clean and organized. Emma noticed photos of herself as a baby on the walls, some memories cherished over the years. You kept photos of me? Emma asked, touching a picture where she was just a few months old. They were the only ones I had. The social worker gave me 3 photos when you were adopted. I kept them like treasures, Jennifer explained. And this here? Emma asked, pointing to a small wooden box on a shelf. Those are your baby things. Some little clothes, your first pacifier, your first shoe, Jennifer said, picking up the box. Emma opened the box with reverence, touching each item as if they were sacred relics. There was a small pink blanket, tiny wool shoes, a pacifier, even the hospital bracelet from where she was born. You kept everything, Emma whispered, moved. It was all I had left of you, Jennifer confessed. That weekend, Emma discovered a world completely different from the one she had grown up in. She met neighbors who greeted each other warmly, saw how a simple family had fun without spending much money, tasted homemade food made with basic ingredients but seasoned with love. Mrs. Dorothy told stories about the family, about how Jennifer had been a determined and hard-working girl since she was little, how she had struggled to support herself after getting pregnant, and how she had suffered with the adoption decision. Your mother cried for months after you left, Mrs. Dorothy recounted. She barely ate, barely slept. It was the hardest time of her life. Grandma, you don't have to... Jennifer tried to interrupt, but Emma wanted to hear. No, Mom, let her tell it. I need to know, Emma said. She never fully came to terms with it, you know. She always wondered if she had done the right thing, if you were okay, if one day you would forgive her, Mrs. Dorothy continued. Emma held Jennifer's hand. There's nothing to forgive, Mom. You did what you thought was best for me at the time, Emma said. How can you be so wise at 15? Jennifer asked, impressed with her daughter's maturity. I think I inherited it from both of my mothers, Emma replied with a smile. On Sunday, when it was time to go back home, Emma was visibly sad to leave her biological family. Don't be sad, my dear. You can come back whenever you want, Jennifer said, hugging Emma. I know, it's just, I feel so good here. So, at home, Emma confessed. This has always been your home too. It just took a while for you to find your way back, Mrs. Dorothy said, kissing her granddaughter's forehead. When Victoria came to pick up Emma, she immediately noticed the change in her daughter. Emma seemed more centered, more at peace with herself. How was it? Victoria asked during the ride back. It was wonderful, Mom. They welcomed me with so much affection, and Grandma Dorothy is amazing, Emma said excitedly. Grandma Dorothy? Victoria asked, feeling a twinge of jealousy. That's what I'm going to call her, do you mind? Emma asked, noticing her mother's discomfort. No, I don't mind. If it makes you happy, Victoria replied, but her voice betrayed her true feelings. Mom, you're still my only mom here at home. Nothing has changed between us, Emma assured, noticing Victoria's insecurity. I know, it's hard for me to get used to the idea of sharing you, Victoria admitted. You're not sharing, Mum, you're making me more complete, Emma explained. In the following weeks, Emma established a routine of spending alternating weekends with Jennifer and her family. With each visit, she discovered more about her origins, about the culture and values of her biological family. Jennifer taught Emma to cook simple dishes that were family traditions. Mrs. Dorothy shared stories about past generations, about the great-grandparents Emma had never met. Emma learned about struggle, about resilience, about the beauty that exists in simplicity. At the same time, she began to see Victoria in a new light. She came to value more the sacrifices her adoptive mother had made, the opportunities she had provided, the love she had shown in her own way. A month later, Victoria finally decided to visit Jennifer's family. Emma insisted on accompanying her, eager to see her two families meet. The visit was initially tense. Victoria arrived at Jennifer's simple house clearly out of her comfort zone, wearing expensive clothes that contrasted with the humble surroundings. Mrs. Dorothy, however, welcomed her with the natural hospitality of someone who had spent her whole life receiving people in her home. It's so nice to finally meet you, Victoria. Thank you for taking such good care of our Emma, Mrs. Dorothy said sincerely. Victoria was surprised by the genuine gratitude in the elderly woman's voice. It was a pleasure raising Emma. She's always been a special girl, Victoria replied, disarmed by the kindness. Special and stubborn, right? Mrs. Dorothy said with a laugh. Takes after her mother and grandmother. Despite herself, Victoria smiled. Stubborn is an understatement. Once she sets her mind on something, there's no changing it, Victoria agreed. See, that's why you two get along so well. You understand Emma better than anyone, Mrs. Dorothy observed. During the visit, Victoria watched how Emma behaved in that environment. She naturally helped in the kitchen, chatted animatedly with her grandmother, showed genuine affection for Jennifer. It wasn't an act. Emma truly felt at home there. Jennifer prepared a simple but thoughtful lunch: rice, beans, roasted chicken, salad, and stuffing. For Victoria, accustomed to sophisticated meals, it was a revealing experience to see how simple flavors could be so satisfying when prepared with care. Emma told me you have a real estate company, Mrs. Dorothy said during lunch. Yes, I do. I started from scratch 20 years ago, and now we have offices in several cities in Los Angeles, Victoria replied. That's wonderful. An entrepreneurial woman. I admire that. Jennifer has always been a hard worker too. Since she was little, she said she was going to make it in life, Mrs. Dorothy shared. Mom, stop, Jennifer said, embarrassed. Stop nothing. Look at what you've achieved. You started as a cleaner, got your GED, then a technical course, and now you're finishing your business degree, Mrs. Dorothy said proudly. You're in college? Victoria asked, surprised. Yes, I am. I go at night, after work. I've always dreamed of having my own cleaning company, building something bigger, Jennifer explained. Victoria looked at her with renewed interest. She had seen Jennifer only as a cleaner, but now she realized there was much more complexity to this woman. And what are your plans for this company? Victoria asked, genuinely curious. I want to focus on cleaning commercial establishments, provide opportunities for other women like me, offer fair wages and benefits, Jennifer explained, her eyes shining as she talked about her dreams. That's a promising market. If you'd like, I can give you some tips on entrepreneurship, Victoria offered, surprising herself. Really? You would do that? Jennifer asked emotionally. Why not? Women entrepreneurs should support each other, Victoria replied. Emma watched the conversation with her heart full of joy. Her two mothers were finally connecting as people, not just as rivals for her attention. After lunch, Mrs. Dorothy showed Victoria the family photo album. There were pictures of Jennifer as a child, a teenager, pregnant with Emma. Victoria saw a determined young woman who had faced difficulties with courage. This one is from the day Emma was born, Mrs. Dorothy said, pointing to a photo where Jennifer, visibly young and tired, was holding a tiny baby. Victoria studied the photo intensely. It was the first time she had seen Emma as a baby in her biological mother's arms. She was so small, Victoria murmured. She was born at 7 months. She spent a week in the neonatal ICU. Jennifer didn't leave the hospital even to eat properly, Mrs. Dorothy shared. I didn't know she was born premature, Victoria said, looking at Emma. That's why she was always shorter than the other girls her age, Jennifer explained. And I always thought it was just genetics, Victoria said, realizing how many things about Emma's medical history she didn't know. That visit marked the beginning of a change in the relationship between Victoria and Jennifer. They began to see each other less as rivals and more as two women who loved the same girl and wanted the best for her. Victoria offered practical help for Jennifer's business project, while Jennifer shared information about Emma's medical and genetic history that Victoria had never had access to. Emma flourished with this new family dynamic. She was getting better grades in school, had stopped aggressive behaviors, and seemed genuinely happy for the first time in a long while. 2 months after Victoria's first visit to Jennifer's house, the three women were sitting in the mansion's living room, planning Emma's 16th birthday. I want to throw a party that brings both families together, Emma said. I want Grandma Dorothy to meet my school friends. I want my friends to meet my biological family. Are you sure it will be a very mixed environment? Victoria asked, worried about the social differences. I'm sure. The people who truly love me will understand and accept my whole family, Emma replied with conviction. And where do you want to have this party? Jennifer asked. Here at home. But I want you and Grandma Dorothy to help organize it, I want it to be a party that represents who I really am, a girl who was lucky enough to have two families who love her, Emma said. Victoria and Jennifer exchanged glances and smiled. The party would be a symbol of the unity they had managed to build. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. Emma's birthday party turned out to be a unique event. The mansion's elegant garden was decorated with simplicity and good taste, blending sophisticated elements with homemade touches that Jennifer and Mrs. Dorothy brought. Emma's school friends were initially surprised to meet the biological family, but soon became charmed by Mrs. Dorothy's natural hospitality and Jennifer's kindness. On the other side, some neighbors and friends of Jennifer were present, impressed by the mansion's elegance, but quickly feeling welcomed by Victoria. I never thought it would be possible, Victoria confessed to Jennifer during the party. Seeing all these different people living together in harmony in my home. People are more alike than we imagine. Deep down, we all want the same things: love, respect, happiness for our children, Jennifer observed. You're right. I've learned a lot these past few months, Victoria admitted. I've learned too. I learned that you're a wonderful mother and that Emma was lucky to have been raised by you, Jennifer said sincerely. The two women hugged for the first time, finally setting aside their insecurities and rivalries for Emma's well-being. Emma watched the hug from afar and smiled, feeling she had finally found the balance she'd always sought. She had two mothers who respected each other, an extended family that loved her, and the sense of wholeness she had longed for so long. 6 months later, the expanded family life had found a comfortable rhythm. Emma spent 2 weeks a month with Victoria and 2 weeks with Jennifer and Mrs. Dorothy. She had enrolled in a weekend social project, working with underprivileged children, inspired by her biological mother's story of struggle. Victoria and Jennifer developed an unexpected business partnership. Victoria invested in Jennifer's cleaning company, which quickly grew and became one of the most respected in the area. They discovered their skills complemented each other. Victoria with management experience, and Jennifer with practical knowledge and social sensitivity. Mrs. Dorothy moved to a larger apartment in the same neighborhood, discreetly funded by Victoria as a way to repay the years of care that Jennifer's family had given to the granddaughter she never knew she had. Emma became a bridge between two worlds, bringing values of simplicity and authenticity to her privileged environment, while bringing aspirations and opportunities to her biological family. 1 year after the first meeting in the mansion's kitchen, the three women were together again, this time in the office of Jennifer's new company, celebrating the business's first anniversary. I never imagined I'd get this far, Jennifer said, looking around the modest but well-organized office. You always had potential. You just needed an opportunity, Victoria said. And a brave daughter who wasn't afraid to unite her two families, Jennifer added, hugging Emma. I didn't do anything special. I just followed my heart, Emma said. Sometimes that's exactly what the world needs, people who follow their hearts, Victoria observed. The story had reached a point of balance and peace, but there were still challenges to face. Emma was preparing to take her college entrance exams and had decided to study social work, inspired by the journey of her two mothers. She wanted to help other families reunite and reconcile. Jennifer was expanding her business and planning to open a daycare for employees' children, a project that had both financial and strategic support from Victoria. She also kept in touch with other mothers who had given children up for adoption, offering emotional support and guidance. Victoria discovered a passion for social projects she never knew she had. She began investing not only in profitable businesses, but also in initiatives that made a difference in people's lives. Her perspective on success and happiness had broadened significantly. 2 years later, Emma was in her second year of social work when she decided to do a project on family reunification. She wanted to document her own story as an example of how it's possible to overcome prejudices and fears, to build healthy relationships between biological and adoptive families. Can I use our story as an example in my college project? Emma asked both mothers during dinner at Jennifer's house. Of course you can, my daughter. If our story can help other families, I'd be proud, Jennifer replied. I agree too. Perhaps other adoptive mothers can learn from my early mistakes and fears, Victoria added. They weren't mistakes, Mom. They were normal human reactions. What matters is that you overcame all of that, Emma said. Emma's project became an emotional presentation at college, deeply touching professors and classmates. Many students approached her afterward to share their own experiences with adoption, family separation, or reconciliation. The story spread beyond the college when a professor suggested that Emma write an article for a specialized social work magazine. The article generated interest from other universities and organizations working with adoption. Emma began receiving invitations to speak about family reunification, always accompanied by her two mothers. The three women became a living example of how love, patience, and willingness to change can overcome any obstacle. Victoria created a support fund for vulnerable mothers, considering placing their children for adoption, offering alternatives like temporary financial support, professional training, and psychological assistance. Many women were able to keep their children thanks to this help. Jennifer developed a mentorship program for young people working in her company, offering not just jobs but also educational and career guidance. Several of her employees managed to complete their studies and start their own businesses. Mrs. Dorothy at 73 became a beloved figure in the community, known for her wisdom and willingness to counsel young mothers. She often said it was worth living so long to see her granddaughter grow up and the two families unite. 3 years after the reunion, Emma was graduating in social work when she received an unexpected offer. An international organization wanted to hire her to develop a family reunification program that could be implemented in several countries. It's an amazing opportunity, but it means I'd have to travel a lot, maybe even live abroad for some periods, Emma explained to her two mothers. If that's what you want, we support you, Victoria said without hesitation. I agree. You have an important mission in the world, Jennifer added. But I'm going to miss you both so much, Emma confessed. We'll miss you too. But now we know that true love doesn't diminish with distance. You can always count on us, no matter where you are, Victoria assured. And you'll always have a home here in both places, Jennifer added. Emma accepted the offer and began a new phase of her life, carrying around the world the unique experience of being raised by two families who learned to love and respect each other. Her international lectures moved audiences in countries where adoption and family reunification were still taboos. She shared not just academic theory, but real-life experience of how to build bridges between seemingly opposite worlds. Victoria and Jennifer maintained their business and personal partnership, becoming true friends over the years. They often traveled together to visit Emma in different countries, always proud to see how their daughter was positively impacting so many families' lives. Jennifer's cleaning company expanded to other states, always maintaining the social justice and opportunity values that had motivated its creation. Victoria diversified her investments to include more social projects, discovering that emotional returns were as important as financial ones. 5 years after the first meeting, the three women were gathered again at the mansion, now to celebrate another special occasion. Emma had been nominated to receive an International Human Rights Award for her work with family reunification. Who would have thought that shy cleaner who got shocked by a portrait would come this far? Victoria said, teasing Jennifer. Who would have thought that strict boss would become my best friend? Jennifer retorted, laughing. And who would have thought that rebellious teenager would become a world reference in her field? Emma added. What have we learned from all this? Victoria asked, reflecting on the journey. That love knows no bounds, that family can be built in many ways, that it's never too late to start over, Jennifer answered, and that sometimes the most unexpected encounters are exactly what we needed to become better people, Emma concluded. The three women embraced, symbolizing a family that had been broken, rebuilt, and strengthened through years of love, patience, and mutual understanding. The story that began with a cleaner's shock before a portrait had transformed into a journey of growth, forgiveness, and discovery that continued to inspire people around the world. During the award ceremony, Emma dedicated the award to her two mothers and the grandmother, who taught her that true love always finds a way. She spoke about how a desperate decision made by a young mother 15 years earlier had turned into a story of hope for thousands of families. Victoria and Jennifer watched the ceremony from the audience, tears of pride streaming down their faces. They had learned that sharing a daughter didn't mean having less love, but rather multiplying the capacity to love. Mrs. Dorothy, now 77 years old, watched the ceremony on television at home, surrounded by neighbors who had become chosen family. She smiled, knowing her prayer from decades ago had been answered in a more beautiful way than she ever imagined. The story continued to unfold in the following years. Emma married a co-worker who shared her passion for social justice. The wedding was a unique celebration where two completely different families came together in total harmony. Victoria and Jennifer became dedicated grandmothers when Emma had her first child, a boy who inherited the family's characteristic green eyes. They shared caring for their grandson with the same naturalness with which they had learned to share their daughter. The boy grew up calling Victoria Grandma Vicky and Jennifer Grandma Jenny, never questioning why he had three grandmothers, including Mrs. Dorothy, who became great-grandma. To him, it was simply normal to have a large, loving family. Jennifer expanded her business to include a foundation that helped at-risk young mothers, offering alternatives to giving up children for adoption when possible, but also support for those who chose conscious adoption. Victoria became one of the state's leading investors in social projects, using her business experience to create ventures that were both profitable and socially responsible. Emma continued her international work, but always returned home for important holidays. Victoria's mansion and Jennifer's simple house became gathering points for an extended family that included friends, co-workers, and people who had been helped over the years. 10 years after their first meeting, the three women were again in the mansion's kitchen, the place where it all began, preparing dinner for a special celebration, the 10th anniversary of Jennifer's company. "Do you remember how everything started here in this kitchen?" Emma asked, stirring a pot. "How could I forget? I was desperate, afraid of losing you," Victoria said, chopping vegetables. "And I was terrified, thinking I would ruin everything," Jennifer added, seasoning the salad. "But just look how far we've come. We are a family, a successful company, an example for others," Emma observed. "And most importantly, we are happy," Victoria said, smiling at both of them. "Happy and grateful. For all the suffering that brought us here, for all the lessons we learned," Jennifer agreed. The conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Mrs. Dorothy, now 80 years old but still active and sharp. She entered the kitchen leaning on her cane, but with the same welcoming smile as always. "My girls, what a wonderful smell," she said, kissing each one. "Great-grandma, you arrived just in time. We were reminiscing about how it all began," Emma said, helping her grandmother sit down. "Oh, my dear granddaughter, sometimes I think it was all a dream. After so many years thinking I would never see you again, and now you're here with your beautiful family, your important work," Mrs. Dorothy said, emotional. "It wasn't a dream. It was a miracle," Victoria said, surprising everyone with the statement. "A miracle?" Jennifer asked, curious. "Yes. Think about the coincidences that had to happen. You being recommended specifically to work in my house, me accepting the recommendation on that particular day, Emma arriving from school exactly when you saw the portrait," Victoria listed. "You're right. There were too many coincidences for it to be just chance," Emma agreed. "I've always believed that true love finds a way to show itself," Mrs. Dorothy said wisely. "You three were destined to reunite and form this beautiful family." "And to think I almost ruined everything with my pride and my fears," Victoria confessed. "But you didn't. In the end, your love for Emma was greater than your fears," Jennifer observed. "Just as your love for her was greater than your pain of having lost so many years together," Victoria returned. Emma watched them with a full heart. At 26, she had built an international career, started her own family. But she knew that none of it would be possible without the solid foundation her two mothers and grandmother had created. That night's dinner gathered over 30 people, family, friends, employees from Jennifer's company, Victoria's co-workers, neighbors, people who had been helped by the foundation. It was a celebration not only of business success, but of the extended family that had grown around these three women. During the final toast, Emma stood up to speak. 10 years ago, a cleaner was shocked to see a girl's portrait in a millionaire's house. The reason for that shock truly shocked all of us, but not in the way we expected. Instead of destroying a family, that discovery created an even larger and stronger family. I learned that a mother isn't just the one who gives birth, but also the one who raises with love. That family isn't defined by blood or money, but by daily choices to love and support each other. Today we celebrate not only the 10 years of my mother Jennifer's company, but also 10 years of a family that rebuilt itself based on love, forgiveness, and the courage to grow. Thank you, Mother Victoria, for raising me with such care and for being brave enough to open your heart to more love. Thank you, Mother Jennifer, for giving me life and for having the strength to make the most difficult decision thinking of my well-being. And thank you, Great-Grandma Dorothy, for keeping alive the hope that one day we would reunite. The story that began with a shock turned into the greatest blessing of our lives. May it continue to inspire other families to find paths to love and reconciliation. The toast was followed by warm applause and many emotional tears. Several people present shared their own stories of family reconciliation, adoption, or overcoming prejudices. The evening continued with conversations, laughter, and music. The three generations of women who had reunited 10 years earlier watched with pride as their story had inspired a network of support and love that expanded far beyond their biological family. When the last guests had left, the four women, Victoria, Jennifer, Emma, and Mrs. Dorothy, sat on the mansion's porch, gazing at the stars. "Do you think this story has an ending?" Emma asked. "The best stories never have endings," Mrs. Dorothy replied. "They turn into new beginnings." "That's true. Our story continues every day, with every person we help, with every family that reconnects because of the example we've lived," Victoria observed. "And it will continue with your children, Emma, with the next generation who will grow up knowing that love has no limits," Jennifer added. Emma smiled, gently touching her belly where her second child, a girl, was growing and would soon join the loving, extended family they had built. "Then may our story continue to be written with love, courage, and hope," Emma said. The four women embraced under the starry sky, knowing they had created a legacy that transcended their own lives. The initial shock that could have destroyed everything had become the foundation of something beautiful and lasting. The story of the cleaning lady who was stunned to see the girl's portrait in the millionaire's home would continue to be told, inspiring others to believe that true love always finds a way, no matter how many obstacles lie in its path. And so, what began with tears of pain turned into tears of joy. What began with separation became unity, and what began with shock transformed into the most beautiful family love story any of them could have imagined. End of story. Now tell us what you thought of this touching story and where you're watching from. If you have any similar experiences with family reunification or adoption to share with us, leave them in the comments with sincere words. Do you think Jennifer made the right decision by placing Emma for adoption? We'd love to read your opinions. Thank you so much for your company. Don't forget to like and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other moving stories like this one.